ways to get your protein besides meat. And but Joel Wallach, he likes meat, but the meat I prefer is fish. If you look at where people live the longest, they're always eating a lot of fish, seafood. But they get plenty of iodine and that sort of thing is very healthy too. You want to make sure you're getting plenty of iodine in your diet. But I'm very suspect about these studies. These idiots go back and forth, right? Don't they? And now the aspirin thing. They're going back and forth with the aspirin thing. This was another thing my dad warned me about because I always was under the impression that aspirin was healthy. You eat an aspirin or two a day, it's fine, thin your blood and all that. But, some people tell you no. I mean, there's foods you can take that'll thin your blood too. So look into it. Do your own research. What gets me? I've noticed that the English language is always evolving and changing. And this isn't fair to people like myself who I learned English, 30 years ago or more, 30, 40 years ago. And it's like, I know the placement of an apostrophe. I know what it's for. If I say don't, that I'm shortened for do not, right? And the apostrophe goes between the N and the T as one connected word, and the apostrophe supplants the O. Am I right? So it means do not when you say don't, and the apostrophe is just fancy. I mean, it saves you what? One letter? Because you can connect the do and the not together by doing don't. So you save a space. I mean, it's the stupidest thing in the world, really. But now, whenever you use like a noun or something, it's like, well, hey, Fred's coming to dinner. Fred is coming to, okay, Fred is. So the apostrophe supplants the I. Fred is coming to dinner. But if we're talking about Fred's car, they're going to say, oh, no, you're wrong. It's to be marked as wrong unless you put an apostrophe. What is the apostrophe doing there when you're talking about Fred's car? It's not Fred's is car. Fred is car. No, it's Fred's possessive car, right? Do you get what I'm saying here? So I'm just saying, I'm just making a point that it's so weird. It's like, well, what does the apostrophe mean? It's supposed to have a meaning. It's supplanting a letter, right? That's what an apostrophe is supposed to do. Now, if I'm using so-and-so's something or other, and I might need to put the apostrophe at the very end, that would be appropriate. Okay, Fred's car. Okay, but I'm not going to put Fred is car. No. Okay, so at the end of a word, sometimes you put an apostrophe because of what you're trying to indicate. I'm just making a point here, folks, that they're changing stuff for no reason. It's like as if one Grand Poobah English teacher says, I just feel like it whimsically, let's change this and mark everything wrong. So they call Microsoft spell check, and then all of a sudden, oh, wow, we all have to get on the bandwagon here. And, English language is evolving. And even though we don't know why, we can't explain the rhyme and reason. Well, we don't know why we put the apostrophe there. I'm just trying to make a point here, And the same thing goes for pled. Like, let's say you plead your case in court. And then, later somebody's talking about, well, they pleaded not guilty. Well, where's pled? Pled is a word. You pled, past tense, right? Past particles, participle, whatever. You pled not guilty. He didn't pleaded. Why would I say pleaded? He pled not guilty. Do you get it? I'm just saying, it's just so weird the way that this evolves when there's no basis, there's no rhyme or reason, there's no logic behind the evolution sometimes. It's weird. In fact, at one time, I remember learning English at college level English, and my teacher was in line. There's certain terms that are funny that it evolved, like gorilla. The term gorilla used to mean a tribe of hairy women. I mean, who would have ever thought a gorilla could have been a tribe of hairy women? But in fact, I guess it was, according to my English professor. And he said the term nice used to be akin to idiot. You're an idiot. If you were a nice person, you were a dumb, foolish, idiot person. That's evolved, hasn't it? Nice is good, right? To be a nice human being. I mean, that rate's high in my book, just to be a nice human being. So I'm just making a point. that sometimes in the educational hierarchy, they don't make sense. They do things whimsically for no reason, no logic. They just do it. And if you don't do it their way, then they're going to mark your paper wrong. Isn't that the most bizarre thing? So you're forced to do something you don't understand that's illogical, that's got no basis, no justification, no reason, but you've got to do it in order to get a good grade. Is that the weirdest thing? To me, it is. But it's just one example which exemplifies. It's indicative of the entire system that we live under. People don't question reality nearly enough. The logic behind why things operate the way they do, why problems don't get solved. I mean, it's the dumbest thing in the world. You know, I was calling these people that I have respect for, that, like Alex Jones, and he's a journalist, and, like the WikiLeaks, what's his name, Julian Assange, he's a journalist, right? And these people should have free reign. I am an absolutist when it comes to free speech in that regard, that these people, true, false, or somewhere in between, they have a right to say their mind. Snowden, now, he was an insider, right? So he wasn't really a journalist, so he talked to a lot of journalists, and he was a whistleblower. Obama came down hard on whistleblowers, harder than any president before. Okay, so this is where things went askew with this whole business with, because these people have a right to say what they know. And, hey, this whole, national security being able to blanketly cover any truth and facts that come out. I mean, just sweep the truth under the rug. I mean, it's a bunch of bull, but that's what they do. It's very effective. National security, can't talk about it. The Clintons are involved. No, shut up. So I'm just saying, man, the truth is not easy to find in the world of deception. We got these people trying to build what they're calling tiny homes in Chico. Very humiliating, 200 square foot houses. I mean, I don't understand why they can't siphon off some of this money they're spending to rent houses with Section 8 money. Why the governor can't do this, and take some of that money and build people 1,000 square foot houses, 3-4 bedroom houses. I mean, they could be smaller, but why don't you give them something respectable? Just give people houses. They're renting those. Section 8 allows people to rent that kind of house. So why not buy them these kind of houses? And the government's still going to own. I mean, instead of the government renting, you and me are the government in this case. We're paying, footing the bills for the Section 8 housing, this $50 billion a year that goes into it, to rent. I mean, people are idiots. Don't we know the difference between renting and owning? So we, the government, could own that. We, the people, could own those houses those people live in. Give them a 1,000-foot house, 1,000-square-foot house instead of these 200-square-foot houses. And the government's not even helping. They're just private donations are building these tiny houses. God, things are so screwed up. But, I mean, hey, people will take what they can take, what they can get. I mean, beggars can't be choosers and all that, and this comes down to survival. And all these homeless people, they're not criminals. If they were, they'd be safely ensconced behind bars with 3 hots and a cot, medical paid for, utilities, rent, everything else, reintegration costs, okay, at a cost to you, the taxpayer, $50,000 a year, me, the taxpayer. That's what you're willing to do for rapists and murderers and child molesters and on and on. But, nothing for those that aren't willing to be criminals. You get bupkis, go die under a bridge. I mean, just get tough, man. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That's the message to these people. No logic involved. I'm flapping in the wind. Nobody says that's a good idea. Let's stop renting, paying this $50 billion a year. Once we buy people houses, we're done and done. Okay, I mean, God, they'll call me liberal. I'm thinking, God almighty, what a bunch of idiots. This world is full of idiots, man. Yeah, the kind of socialism that's being foisted upon us is taking from the have-nots and giving to the haves. That's what they're doing, and telling you it's something else. These people, these Democrats and crap, they call themselves socialists. They're liars. They're not the good kind of social. No kind. No, no, no. They're the kind that just want to, as long as, things go in their favor, they're fine. But they are taken from the have-nots and given to the haves. Believe me, when it comes to giving themselves raises, they're almost, look at their salaries, look what they're getting paid. They're out of touch. They don't know what reality is like for minimum wage workers, factory workers, low-end blue-collar laborers. They have no idea. They're completely out of touch. All these damn politicians. Freaking evil, man. All of them. I can't stand them. The vast majority are evil. Let's put it that way. Very few are upright, decent, righteous human beings. All right, my friends. I'm on to some thoughts from the last couple of weeks. I said I would share this book that my dad wrote back in the 1960s if I found a copy, which I did. But here it is. It's like something Ben Garrison, cartoonist, would create. But my dad said he wasn't particularly proud of it. The back has got more cartoonish drawing. But my dad was very upset at this time about the Vietnam War. And so he wrote this little novel. And it sold millions of copies. But it was mysteriously yanked off the shelves. It was censored for all intents and purposes. And I think my dad probably got a little paranoid at that point, wondering, they were going to send a hitman after him. But, it doesn't take but a few black hats in the government to, in the right positions to cause problems for everybody. And, they wanted to cause trouble for him because he knew some stuff that he probably, in retrospect, he probably ought not have been talking about. But being that he was a Marine, that there could have been information that, legally that he could have gotten in trouble for, but he never did. But I think he probably wondered if he was going to maybe I ought to republish it, right? See if I get in trouble if it gets censored again. But I mean, we're going back 35, 45, 50, about 55 years ago when he published this book. A long time. Okay, I'm on to some thoughts now. America in the 21st century is nothing more than one big fat-ass Pottersville. If Trump and his followers, of which I am one, really want to MAGA, make America great again, then we need to build/rebuild a nation of home ownership again. That's right. That's right, my friends. That's what we need. That is the quintessential American dream, is home ownership. That is how you define middle-class America. Home ownership is what we need. We're losing it fast. California is setting a really bad trend. But we're the first ones that'll hit the wall and turn it around too. So you still got some woes to look forward to in the rest of the nation. But we're hitting that wall now here, because the majority of California residents are now renting, and it's not in their interest. It's not democratic to keep raising their rent and mortgages. Anyone who has ever listened to me knows I complain a lot, but I do not complain for myself, as I have a very good life full of all the amenities, creature comforts, and a sense of security, freedom, and relative prosperity. Rather, my complaint is for others, the downtrodden, the oppressed. I am certain I cannot enjoy my very good fortune as long as better men and women than myself continue to suffer and die unnecessarily out in the cold. As such, I have come to realize that the only solution to this dilemma is if I knew everybody else had it at least a little better than I. Yes, my friends, that I am absolutely positive would make me happy. Okay? I want to know that everybody has a better life than me. Then I can improve my lot, add prosperity. But until then, I can't enjoy it. To be quite honest, I just can't enjoy it. I couldn't enjoy an extravagant lifestyle.